Good morning, everyone. How is everyone doing today? All right, that sounds like you're not doing too well. How's everyone doing today?
Yeah.
Yes. Yes. All right, it is an honor to be here with two revolutionary individuals when it comes to the topic of health and healthcare. Jeff Arnold and Dr. Oz. I'm sure you guys are all very familiar with them and some of the work that they've done. And today we're going to talk about how technology can help us become healthier. How can technology become a solution in our lifestyle to lead to better health and possibly even lower health costs? Now, I want to start with a very basic question, because you are very in touch with some of the health issues that plague not just countries like the United States, but the entire world. So for instance, even though there is a giant market out there for health-related technology or diet foods, obesity or individuals being overweight is still a huge problem. In fact, it increases every year. There are about 2 billion individuals throughout the world who are either overweight or obese. And it seems as though certain methods and strategies that have been utilized so far haven't been working, and that concerns me. But I'm curious what concerns you. I'll start with you, Jeff.
Well, since back in 1998, started WebMD, and my career has been focused on health literacy. And so as all this information, has become available through social media and other places, that's still a major focus for us, is how do you organize health information from allergies to women's health, make sure the information's right all the time and bring it to the masses.
Fascinating. Dr. Oz, what about you?
So obesity for me is about lack of control. And when you don't feel like you're designing your own destiny, you have to look for other ways you can control your destiny. And the most easy thing that you can control is the fork at the end of your arm that's scooping into the food. And when you combine that with foods that are low in nutrients but high in calories, you have a perfect storm for obesity. But obesity is just emblematic of the larger addiction challenges we face around the world. In the United States, the #1 cause of death in young adults like you, #1 cause of death, it's not car accidents, it's actually drug addiction and opioid abuse. And we are seeing that in other countries as well, whether it's from alcohol or related elements. We have suicide rates that are increasing and success rates of suicide increasing. So the lack of control is our biggest challenge in the modern world, which is ironic because all of us have these. You think this would give us control. And part of the reason I'm so passionate about technology and health is I think for the first time ever, our species has the ability to control our health in a way that we never would have envisioned prior to the evolution of the newer technologies. But if we miss that window, we'll see more obesity, we'll see more chronic illnesses resulting from obesity, high blood pressure, diabetes, high cholesterol, and that will bankrupt all Western nations, because the United States cannot balance its budget no matter what party you are if we don't deal with those chronic issues. The European common market countries can't either. You end up ratcheting down the offering because you're not giving people more value. And right now, as a doctor, I still operate. My show is in 100 countries, so good chance I'm in your country, but I still go to the operating room 1 day a week because I care so passionate about that experience. I'm telling you from the inside, there's no way for us to keep up if we don't give you the message where you live, if we don't meet you where you are, in your home, your living room, and your bedroom.
So the internet has democratized information and knowledge. It's now widely available, and people do have a little more control in regard to how they educate themselves, how much they educate themselves. WebMD has been an incredible example of that, because people who didn't feel comfortable or didn't feel like they had the resources to maybe look into their conditions or look into the possible side effects of their drugs now had that information at their fingertips, which is incredible. But we now have more knowledge, more information than ever before, yet our health continues to really struggle. And I love that you mentioned opioid addiction, because that is a problem plaguing the United States. So why is there a disconnect? Why is it that we have more information than ever? Why is it that I have, my Apple Watch, and I know that I should be standing more, I should be running more, I should be eating better, but I can't do it?
So let me start and hand it to Jeff, because Jeff spent $500 million in 10 years addressing this very issue.
Yeah.
The reason we don't have solutions is we have a balkanized way of delivering information. Everyone thinks they've got the best idea. Every insurance company has its approach, every hospital its approach, every government their approach. We need to have a fundamental platform. We have banking platforms that are global. We have media platforms. My show can be seen by all those countries because it's the same platform. But we don't have that in healthcare. And that's not as easy as it would seem. And all the big companies that you know about, the companies that are very, very good at their core businesses, the Googles and the Microsofts and the Apples and the Amazons, this is not a space they've been able to democratize because you have to be on the inside. And when Jeff built WebMD, it was Web 1.0 version of this. It was information. But I'm here to say to you, and if you're making content, please hear me. This is the most important thing I'll say. People don't change based on what they know. They change based on what they feel. If you feel differently, it'll work for you. If you feel safe, if you feel like information is yours and you get to use it and you can pull information in from everywhere because you control it, you'll trust it, and you'll act on it. And that led to Sharecare, which is a company that Oprah Winfrey, who's my partner on the show, asked me to create with Jeff. She saw Jeff as the most powerful person in building platform businesses. She knew that I didn't want to just talk on television. I wanted to have it live in people's homes because we don't want you dying of a misprint, right? You want to make sure you heard it right. So you built Sharecare.
So what is Sharecare?
Back in 1998 when digital health was just first taking off, the tagline for WebMD was "Now Health has a homepage." Because even back then we realized that healthcare was so fragmented that it was hard for people to manage all these, now wearables and websites at that time. But it was a little bit too early, right? Because people were just getting used to getting information not from their doctors. When Dr. Oz and myself and others started Sharecare, we said that it's not health has a homepage, it's all your health in one place. And what's different now is we all have potentially the greatest healing device we've ever seen, which is the smartphone in our pocket. But we need to think about things differently. We need to broadly define the user, not only as a consumer, but also as a patient, as a health plan member, as an employee. And we have to build trust with that consumer. They own the data, not the health plan. And that they begin to earn trust with us as we start to connect all the important stakeholders of health to them. But when we connect those bridges, we have to build value propositions that are for the person. So getting the person to think not about healthcare from an episodic standpoint, by thinking about it every day, because now their doctor can communicate with them, their employer can communicate with them, their health plan can communicate with them. So as consumerization takes off, it's going to be this movement that the person's in control and the person can go beyond just getting information.
So how does an individual gain control of their own life when they are struggling with something like a prescription drug addiction? And there are various issues in various countries, but just to focus on the United States, since I'm most educated on the issues there, opioid addiction is essentially a product of pharmaceutical companies pushing for the overprescription of painkiller drugs, which are highly abusive and habit-forming. So is there a way that your venture can help alleviate that problem?
Sure, I'll talk to that.
So the biggest challenge with chronic pain is it's not really well treated with opioids. There has never been a good clinical trial showing chronic management of chronic pain works. I'll say that again. Narcotics don't really work for chronic pain. They build addiction, but when you try to get off them, they make it worse. But what does work is physical activity. Some foods help. Some Eastern medicine, alternative approaches, meditation. So if you could use those and feel comfortable that an over-the-counter pill like an ibuprofen or a acetaminophen can work better maybe long-term than narcotics, you'll start to use them. But who's going to tell you that?
Yeah.
If the only time your insurance company or the government or your employer talks to you is when you have a problem, you're not going to believe them. The big breakthrough idea for me on Sharecare was I can touch you every day in ways that you don't have to work hard to do. As an example, we have a device on the app that analyzes the stress in your voice. It does fractal analysis of your voice. We actually used it in the last American election to compare Hillary Clinton to Donald Trump. When people heard them, what did they feel? How many of you have been in a fight with your loved one and they say, it's not what you said, it's how you said it? I'm not the only one. Thank you. Just everybody. So this device tells you that. So when you're talking to your boss or your employee or your spouse or your child or your mother, what do they hear in your voice? What stress do they feel? I can use that now with Jeff and Sharecare, and I can begin to say, because of how you're sounding, I know this is what you're going through. Mm-hmm. And I can now give you messages when you're best able to hear them. So remember, I can tell you lots of things, but if you're not ready to hear it, if you're struggling to get through the line to get into this building, you don't want to be texted about your narcotic addiction. Maybe you have the opposite problem, or cigarette smoking. If someone is stressed out, if you tell them to stop smoking, they get anxious, they smoke more.
Yes.
So you want to be able to communicate with people when they're mentally ready, but you also want to know things about people that we already can tell that they don't know about.
I have a question
Yes.
in regard to what you just said, because it really spoke to me, not in regard to smoking, but an example that I've personally experienced has to do with my husband encouraging me to meditate more, because my stress levels are out of control. And the more he tells me to meditate, the angrier I get, the more stressed out I get, because I feel like meditating, even if it's just for 10 minutes a day, takes too much time. It's taking too much time out of moments where I could be productive in my career and my job. And so it's a cultural thing, because I live in a society that says you need to work, 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 work. Every minute that you're awake needs to be a productive minute. How do you fight against that cultural standard?
I meditate because it makes me work more efficiently. I sleep 8 hours a night because the 16 hours that I'm awake, I'll do 20 hours of work. What Sharecare, and I'll turn it to Jeff, does is nudge you when you're ready to hear that message. Because if you're not ready to hear it, why am I wasting your time? This gets to the psychology of change. But if I can nudge you when you're ready to hear it and tell you what your cost of your medications are, so you can get the cheapest versions, tell you the best doctor to help you with whatever problem you are. If I can set at ease your concerns about who's going to be taking care of your parents, then all of a sudden it opens up a little bit of a window for you, so you see life as it should be. And that's the challenge. You mentioned the word stress. It is the #1 killer. But we've not been able to address it. Now we finally have some solutions. It's not just Sharecare, but it's platform businesses like this that let all of you build tools to cobble onto. If you've got 4 wheels and a chassis you can drive, you have to build a body. All of you out there, that's why I came. I stopped taping this week to join Jeff here, because you're the brains that are going to make this a beautiful automobile. And with you building on the little elements that have to exist, you will have a place to put them for the first time. Jeff?
Yeah. I think it's a combination of high tech and high touch. So decision support helps people navigate the healthcare system. So how can I speak into the app and say I have a migraine? So instead of fumbling through search and not knowing what questions to ask, we ask you questions. And as you answer them, we do pattern recognition against the latest peer-reviewed literature. In less than 3 minutes, I can take your chief complaint and give you a likely cause. Geo-locate you and then navigate you to the right care. We have 750 nurses that we employ at Sharecare, and those 750 nurses, because of technology, will be able to take care of 40 million people. And so how through asynchronous messaging, secure voice, secure text, secure video, and secure file, can you start to build a cadence with that patient, because now we're with them 24/7. So whatever the issue may be on that person, having access to care using technology, I think is where we're going to see some really big breakthroughs.
I love that.
If I can give you one example. So Oprah, who lives in Hawaii, did a beautiful program for us when we launched in this summer. And in Hawaii, most of the people who live there are now on our platform. And Hawaii is an important example for you because it's an island, but it's an experiment at the same time. And I've been all over the world, to Sardinia, Okinawa, Loma Linda, to Costa Rica, places where people live a long, long time. They live to age 100 in these so-called blue zones, 4 times more commonly than where you live. What do they do differently? We want to look at those ideas, and Hawaii is the closest to a blue zone, the longest lived state in America. And we want to develop these ideas. What is the best way to communicate and cobble together your concepts? But it's working there. When we have the biggest insurance company, the biggest employers working with the biggest platform, all of a sudden people who are developing tools know where to put their tools. And the customers don't have vendor fatigue. You come up with the best idea in the world, people don't know how to incorporate it into their balkanized system. And programs like Hawaii work because they allow us for the first time to demonstrate what will happen in the rest of the world. Now, we're also in Brazil, so at least it's Portuguese speaking, right? We'll be in Europe. I mean, our goal is within the next 18 months to have 50 million people and be in several other countries. But that's a very achievable goal. So we want you to send us your ideas to be part of the solution.
I wanted to finally end with one question that I'm sure a lot of people are curious about. Is there a cost to this app? Do people have to pay in order to have it?
So, we've scaled really fast. So in the last 5 years, we made 11 acquisitions. We spent $500 million putting together this platform. We've realized that you have to be fluent in 3 languages to be successful in creating not an app, but a platform. You have to be fluent in media. No 2 content experiences should be the same. You need to be fluent in technology. What's the difference between machine learning and AI? And you need to be fluent in healthcare. But most importantly, you have to know that healthcare is local. So what works in Brazil will be different than Hawaii, even though it's on the same platform, and it has to be free to the person. And so we're running lots of different risk management models to figure out how we can lower healthcare costs so that can subsidize it to make it free for the consumer.
That's amazing. Thank you so much for the conversation. Jeff Arnold and Dr. Oz, I'm Ana Kasparian. Thank you for coming and listening to us.
Thank you.